Myths have never been something I liked. None of that stuff about ghosts, spirits, and the supernatural ever made sense to me. I grew up in the present day, where science explains everything. But I've learned that some things can't be explained. The world has dark sides that you can't always explain away, no matter how hard you try. There are places where things should stay hidden from view. It began when I moved into an old house on the edge of town. I was ready for a new beginning since I had just ended a long-term partnership. The house needed some work, but I liked the country feel of it. I liked the big fireplace in the living room, the creaking wood floors, and the ivy growing up the stone walls. It looked like the best place for me to fix my life. The agent had stated that the house was built in the late 1800s, and it showed in the design. There was something solid about it, something that felt like it had passed the test of time. Sure, the wiring needed updating, and the plumbing groaned whenever I turned on the taps, but that was all part of its old-world beauty. The first few weeks were uneventful. I spent my nights painting, fixing the walls, and bringing the house back to life. But then I started to notice something odd, something that would change everything. It began one evening when I was pulling wallpaper in the hallway near the back of the house. As I pulled away layer after layer, I noticed an image on the wall. It was faint, almost as if it had been hiding under the paper for decades, but there was no missing it. It was shaped like a door. Curiosity got the better of me. I tapped on the wall, expecting to hear the strong thud of wood, but instead, the sound was hollow. I stepped back, frowning. Why would someone cover the door? Where could it possibly lead? Armed with a wrench and hammer, I chipped away at the plaster and wood that had sealed it shut. The work was slow and boring, but after an hour or so, I'd cleared enough to pry the door open. A gust of cold, stale air rushed out, making me shiver despite the warm summer night. The door led to a narrow set of stairs that spiraled downward into darkness. I paused, looking into the inky dark below. The thought crossed my mind that maybe I shouldn't go down there. Perhaps some doors are meant to stay closed. But interest has always been a strong force, and mine got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and descended the steps, feeling the chill grow stronger with each step. The air felt heavy, like it hadn't been stirred in years. At the bottom of the stairs, my flashlight's beam showed a small room. It was stark and empty, except for an old wooden chair sitting in the center. Except for the chair, dust covered every surface, thick and untouched. Someone had been down here. Recently, a feeling of unease sank into my bones, but I tried to shake it off. Maybe a previous owner stored something in the room and forgot about it. But that didn't explain why the door had been sealed shut or why the room felt wrong. As I turned to leave, I spotted something odd on the floor near the chair. I crouched down and wiped away the dust. Deep, sharp marks were scratched into the stone. They weren't random. They were planned. Words carved over and over into the ground. Do not open the door. I stood there for a long moment, my heart racing. It wasn't a threat. It was a plea. But which door were they talking about? The one I'd just opened, or another? I didn't wait to find out. I hurried back up the stairs, closed the door behind me, and sealed it up the best I could. For the next few days, I tried to forget about the secret room. I threw myself into work, went out with friends, and did everything I could to avoid the nagging thought in the back of my mind. But at night, I couldn't sleep. I started hearing noises. At first, I thought it was just the house settling, an old place like this with its creaks and groans. That's normal, right? But these weren't the normal sounds of an old house. These were different. Soft tapping, like fingers striking on wood. Whispers, faint and far away, but always just at the edge of hearing. Then the dreams started. Every night I dreamed of that room. In the dream, I would find myself standing at the top of the stairs, looking down into the darkness. Every night I could hear something moving down there. Not walking, not moving, but slithering, like something pulling itself across the floor. Each time I'd wake up soaked in sweat, my heart beating, the sound of that wriggling still echoing in my mind. One night, the dream changed. This time I wasn't standing at the top of the stairs. I was in the room, sitting in the chair, unable to move. A person bent over in the corner of the room, his back to me. It was mumbling something, words I couldn't make out. Slowly, uncomfortably, it began to turn, its moves jerky, strange. That's when I woke up, gasping for air, my heart feeling like it was going to explode in my chest. The worst part was that the sound, the writhing, scraping sound, wasn't just in my dream anymore. It was coming from the floor beneath me. I lay in bed, frozen with fear, listening as the sound moved through the walls. I could hear it clearly now. Something was down there. Something alive. Then it was moving. I don't know how long I laid there, frozen, before the sound finally stopped. When I finally found the courage to get out of bed, the house was strangely quiet. I didn't dare go near the secret room, but I knew that something had come out. The next few days were a blur. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. And every time I walked past that part of the house, I could feel it, like something was watching me from behind the walls. The dreams kept coming, more vivid each night, and I started waking up with scratches on my arms and legs, deep red marks that hadn't been there the night before. The night came, and everything changed. I woke up in the middle of the night to a soft, creaking sound. At first, I thought it was just the house again, but then I heard it, the undeniable sound of the door downstairs slowly swinging open. My breath caught in my throat. I grabbed the flashlight and crept down the hallway, heart beating in my chest. When I reached the top of the stairs, the door to the secret room was wide open. I didn't want to go down there. Every impulse screamed at me to turn around, to run, to leave the house and never look back. But something pushed me forward. My feet moved on their own, and before I knew it, I was standing at the opening, looking down into the dark abyss. That's when I saw it. Below the stairs, in the middle of the room, the chair was filled. Sitting there, hunched over, was the same person from my dream. Its head was tilted at an unusual angle, and its long, crooked fingers drummed softly on the arms. It lifted its head slowly, and I saw its face for the first time. Hollow eyes, hollow and black, stared back at me. Its mouth twisted into a grotesque grin, and in a voice that sounded like the scraping of nails on a chalkboard, it whispered, "You shouldn't have opened the door." I ran. I don't know how I made it out of that house alive, but I did. I left everything behind. My things, my work, my life. I didn't care. All I knew was that I had to get away from that place. But even now, miles away in a different city, I still hear it sometimes. Late at night, when everything is quiet, I hear the soft tapping of fingers drumming on wood, and I hear a voice almost out of my hearing. "You shouldn't have opened the door."